While we're waiting to get started, you should have received an email from me or from CDS at ed.gov on Tuesday around 10:30, 10:35 Eastern time from CDS at ed.gov, and that had your CDS login information. I either created an account for you if you didn't have one, or just sent you information on how you can reset your password. Go ahead and have that information handy because in about 25 minutes to 30 minutes, we will be doing a hands-on activity. So you want to have that information ready. You can go ahead and log in now if you want while we're waiting. And if you're having trouble, please drop your name and your email address into the chat if you have trouble logging into CDS, and we will get you squared away. So it is 1 o'clock. We will go ahead and get started. The slide here on the screen I will bring back up throughout my presentation so that those trickling in can have that information too. So I want to officially welcome everyone to our second webinar out of our 3 early learning series. Today we're going to be talking about building your data dictionary. And in case you missed it, our first webinar, Why CDS, was last week. We have that recording available, and Dwayne will drop that link in the chat for you. Okay, so today we are here to have a hands-on live demo of our Align tool. Before we get started, I'm Jackie Hughes. I'm a business analyst for CEDS. And with me today, I have Tony Ruggiero, and he is an education analyst. And he is also going to talk about his past experience at Delaware Department of Education too. But so for today, let's go ahead and talk about what's on our agenda. Oops, went too far. So I'm briefly going to talk about what the Align tool is. Tony's going to talk about how Align can help you build out your data dictionary, and then we're going to do the hands-on portion where you all get to go in and you have 4 elements to Align. We're going to do it all together and work through so that way you get to see what CDS has to offer. So there are a number of challenges that early learning environments are facing, and CDS can help. In our first webinar series, we discussed common problems when integrating data for multiple systems. Stakeholders expressed numerous roadblocks when they were trying to integrate data for multiple systems. And some of the roadblocks they mentioned is that when they're trying to build or enhance their ECIDS, one problem mentioned by a stakeholder was that different agencies collect similar information, but option sets and definitions vary. If this kind of speaks to you, if you're experiencing this roadblock, the CDS Align tool can and it will help you. Align gives you the ability to align multiple data systems and reports. It also lets you decide what the source of truth is. So Align, that's offered in CDS, it's a free online data management tool. And what that means is that you can take a data dictionary or wherever it is that you store your source of data, and that might be a lot of different places. But you can build a data dictionary using our Align tool and then compare it with other data systems dictionaries, other early learning organizations, other states, if they're shared publicly, or you can take your map and compare it with other maps that you might have, that you might build out within your affiliation. So with that, Align is used to be for transparency. I don't think I have to tell this audience about the importance of transparency because you are dealing with educational data, but for legislators and researchers and parents to understand what data you're collecting and how it's defined, that's all made available in the Align tool. So that being said, I'm now going to hand it over to Tony to share his experiences with that. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Jackie. Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us today, and hope everyone's having a wonderful week. And so to begin, well, what is a data dictionary? And a data dictionary is the data about the data or the metadata you'll often hear, and it'll consist of a data element the definitions that go with the data element. So for example, a data element could be race, have the definition in there, the option set that goes with that data element and definition. So the option set for race could be Black, white, Native American, and other groups that would belong to that option set, depending on the report or question you're looking to answer with your data. And so I want to begin by, before we go any further, by telling about my experience when I first started with the Delaware Department of Education a few years back, and I was with the Early Learning and Development Resources Work Group, also known as the Early Childhood Office back then. And when I first got there, one of the first things I needed to do, because I was the data manager and I needed to have an inventory of the data that we had for our programs that our office oversaw, which were Part B 619, which is early childhood special education. We had home visiting, and we also oversaw Head Start. And we worked closely with Part C early intervention as well, even though that was in a different department. And so as I set out to see if there was a data dictionary I could use to help me with my work and for me to better help my office, my state, and our kids and families in our state, I needed a data dictionary because I did not rely on existing reports and I ran my own data. So I created my own queries and could run data off of the data out of the database, out of the tables. So the data dictionary was critical for my work. And so as I asked about a data dictionary, I was told, oh, yes, we have one. And so talking about not having an understanding of what this means or what a data dictionary is, I was pointed in a direction, and when I got there, it was actually a data acquisition calendar. So I don't know if anyone has had this experience before, but you're looking for one thing, and people think you have it, and it's not there. But the data acquisition calendar has its usefulness, and the data acquisition calendar we had, it listed the federal and state reports that were due and and when they were due, and some other information to help with that, so people knew what was needed and when deadlines were, and then they could set a process in place to make sure they were hitting the deadline. So it certainly has its use, but I was looking for a data dictionary to help with my day-to-day. And so around this time, and so ultimately we did not have one. So at this time, my director asked me to join the Common Education Data Standards meetings that were taking place in 2011. And I joined those, and what these meetings consisted of were, they were groups of people who were addressing different areas, such as early childhood, uh, the workforce, higher ed, K to 12. And so I worked in the early childhood work group, and these groups consisted of stakeholders from across the country. So even in its earliest stages, at its inception, CEDS has been developed with perspectives and expertise from across the country uh, since the beginning. And so I remember attending my first meeting, and found out that that CEDS was free. And I remember being so happy, and all I was looking for was a data dictionary. So, and then of course, CEDS developed other tools that came after that. But at its foundation, the data dictionary component of CEDS I found very helpful. And so with that, I'm going to pause here and ask, and you can enter in the chat Do you have a data dictionary for your program or programs that you are working with?
Launched a poll there for you, Tony. And if you feel comfortable, you can come off mute too.
Yeah, or if you want to come off mute and share a similar experience that I had, we'd love to hear about it. And also to know if you were able to do anything about it.
Hi, Tony. This is Jen in Minnesota.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I work on the early childhood longitudinal data system for Minnesota, and we do have a data dictionary for our system. It has the system itself has been in place since 2016, so it's starting to show its age, and we're recognizing that our data dictionary could really use an overhaul. We are also very slowly moving toward allowing research access to our data. It's currently only available through public reports. And so we want to make sure that we have everything set before researchers start asking for the data, and we want them to understand what we actually have that's available and to be able to interpret it when they are doing the research. So we are hoping that CEDS will help us with this work that we are going to embark on over the next year or two to fix our data dictionary.
That's wonderful to hear, Jen. And we know that we always appreciate you and Avisia's work. And always love hearing about what you're doing too. And you're already doing some wonderful things and have been for a long time. But the fact that you continue to do better it's amazing.
Thanks, Tony.
Would anyone else like to share? Okay, so I see the last I looked, Jackie, we were at an even split 50-50, yes and no, for folks having a data dictionary.
So now we're at about 60 to 40. 60% are saying yes, and 40% are saying no. They do not have a data dictionary yet. I'll go ahead. Oh, got a few more in there. Before I close the poll, I'll give it another.
Okay.
So now we're at about 63% say, or 64 yes, and 36 no. I'll go ahead and close the poll. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for participating. And thank you, Jackie, for the poll. And so for those who responded no, do you have plans to develop a data dictionary? You can enter in the chat, or if you would like to come off mute, we'd love to hear from you. Vanessa said yes. So Vanessa and her team have plans. Great. Rob works at a school district and is in the early stages of building one. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, everyone. And so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about why do you need a data dictionary. Jackie mentioned transparency a few moments ago. And so in terms of transparency, the transparency is it's also good for data governance or presenting to data governance. So if you're using CEDS, and I did this in Delaware, so at that time we were coordinating our data across our early childhood programs, the ones I mentioned earlier, and we were working closely with Part C with this as well. And so I remember the nice thing about CEDS, when you have engagement from multiple programs and you're looking at the data elements across those programs, CEDS makes it very easy to look at that. You can look at the similarities and differences in terms of the data that's coming in for those programs. And I remember presenting this very clean table off of CEDS to the state of Delaware Governance Board, because at that time they had just started overseeing all of the information technology, all the IT work across all departments, where previously each department was in control of their own destiny around that work. So the state of Delaware Data Governance Board, they loved the way that CEDS was able to display the data elements from across programs very easily. And as far as transparency goes, it makes it easy to share with the CEDS data elements can be shared with data governance boards, also can be shared with, and then also I do want to add that it was important they saw that, because they approve statewide all the IT efforts that take place. So also, as far as transparency goes, that it helps people who want to contribute to an early childhood integrated data system, or who want to share data, maybe not go as far as an ECIDS, but it provides that opportunity for everyone to see what data is being collected, what those definitions are, and it helps to build that trust across organizations and offices for people to want to embark on this work. And so and so and then also, and the reasons for data dictionary, we all know that it helps the people who are directly working with the data to easily access and look up definitions and option sets where the source of the data is. And it's also good for new people coming in as well, as opposed to running from person to person, office to office, or program to program to try and find or dig up the data that exists. And so the other reason for needing a data dictionary is it can help determine the single source of truth, particularly when you're working on an ECIDS. And so when you're looking at data elements from across programs and you have similar ones or ones that appear similar, for example, race, and then you can look at and I say appear similar because the definitions may be different, the option sets may be different. And so even if there are similarities there in terms of definitions and option sets, that data element names, then the other question is around data quality. So now that we have these data elements in front of us, we can look at them one by one and say, okay, we're looking at race. We have this policy question or program question we want to answer. Now, the data element of race in my program may not be collected. It may not have that in a way that fosters high quality data. And so the other program that I'm working with, your program, may have that race data element where the data is coming in and it's and we know it's clean at the point of data entry. There may be a data quality process in place with programs. So your data may be more complete. It may be of that high quality data. And so that allows us to have the discussions around what we hear in the single source of truth. So what data element are we going to use that we can trust in our reporting and analysis of the data? And we know we certainly don't want to use data that does not have quality to it and make decisions based off of that data. And then the other reason to have a data dictionary is because it eliminates spreadsheets. And that was the other reason why I was happy with CEDS when I attended my first meeting. over back in 2011. And a few reasons are because often spreadsheets can get lost if they're not placed in a proper location. And the other reason is I think many of us assume that everyone knows how to use or work with a spreadsheet, even if it's something very simple. It's simple and basic. And of course, that's always open for interpretation from person to person. But not everyone does know how to use Excel. And we may think it's very easy, but others may not. And so that's something to keep in mind as well, because CEDS essentially it's almost like a form where you can just go in and start entering the information that is needed to create your data dictionary. So we'll pause here, and we want to ask if if you have had struggles in your organization with the data dictionary, or what's preventing you from having a data dictionary if you do not have one, or is there any hesitation there at all? Okay, if you have any thoughts about that, you can enter those in the chat, and we'll go ahead and move on to our final question. Are you integrating your data system? And so if you are working on an ECIDS, and as I described earlier, CEDS provides a way of providing the information about the data about the data, your metadata, across programs in a very efficient and effective manner. And again, I saw that at work at the State of Delaware Governance Board meeting, and as well as sharing it with other interested stakeholders, like at that time when I was there, the P20 committee that oversaw the state longitudinal data system. And we'll stop here. I see Rob has a message. Oh, Rob, thank you. Obstacles to data dictionary, devoting resources to building it and being confident that it has the most up-to-date information on data elements. Thank you, Rob. Absolutely. So the resources are, and actually, Rob, if you wouldn't mind, I'll ask you before I say anything, but resources, what type of resources for building it need to be devoted? Yes, basically my time. Yes, that is, I would say, and Jackie and Dwayne, I would like to know what you think, but that very well could be the number one reason. But what I would say to that, Rob, or anyone else, is that, and then, oh, Vanessa said, I am the only one that would use this. The researchers use code books. Yes, okay, absolutely. I do see what you're saying, Vanessa. And the only thing I would say is that, and thinking in terms of the obstacles, particularly around time, is that if you're able, for two things. One is be as strategic as possible in terms of what you would like to load into your data dictionary using CEDS, because we know that there could be many variables or data elements, maybe hundreds, sitting in a database. But if you start out maybe in an incremental step, so you say, okay, I have a federal report that is due or a state report that is due, think about it from that perspective, or think about any policy and program questions you would like to address and what data would be needed to address those. And that I feel is a good way to start. The other way of thinking about it is that even though it is a lot of time, if you're putting that time up front, or if you're able to build that time in up front, it'll help to alleviate the time that is being spent fielding questions about what you have in your data or what's needed in your data system, or as you go to share your data elements, as you go to build an ECIDS or you're sharing data, it'll be at your fingertips at that point. So it'll help from having to try and go through to go through and try and find kind of revisiting this effort of retrieving what you have. And then with that, we'll go ahead and stop there for a second and just want to know if anyone has any questions or any thoughts around creating a data dictionary or about using a data dictionary in CEDS. And we do know from last week, we had a poll question that asked folks if they were planning, working on, or already had an ECIDS, and most people on the call last week said yes. So we thought that was great news. And with that, we'll turn it over to Jackie.
All right, thanks, Tony. All right, I'm going to show this slide one more time. We are going to start our hands-on activity where we have 4 elements, just 4 to align in our Align tool today. I'm going to walk you all through that. If you did not receive your login information or you're having difficulties logging into CEDS, please drop your name and email in the chat and we will get that started for you. I'm going to have Dwayne drop the link to CEDS in the chat too, and I'll leave the slide up here one more time for a few more minutes, and then we'll hop over to CEDS. Thanks, Dwayne. And thanks, Cindy. We will get you set up. All right. We'll give everybody a few more seconds to make sure you get logged in. If you logged in at the beginning, CEDS does time out on you after 20 minutes if you haven't refreshed. So go ahead and hit refresh. You might have to log in again. While you're doing that, I will touch briefly on about our homepage before we jump right into the Align tool. This is the CEDS homepage. If you're wanting to learn more about CEDS, if this is the first time you've heard about Common Education Data Standards, a great starting place is this Explore CEDS right here. This will give you an overview on all the tools. Next Thursday at this time, we're going to talk about our Connect tool, which ties into your Align, your data dictionary, the Align map we're going to work on today. So join us for that too. So that way you'll know. Yes, last Thursday we talked about our open source community and why you should use CEDS and how that can help. Today we're talking about the Align tool, and then next Thursday we're going to talk about our Connect tool to build out your use case. So Explore CEDS is a great place to start. The only other thing I'd like to point out is that this is how you get to our open source community from our CEDS website, because it is a separate site. We call this the OSC, and this is where you can work with other stakeholders, you can expand CEDS or have conversations with others about how they use CEDS. So that you just click this link to get there. Okay, so hopefully everyone's had enough time to log in. Today we are focusing on the Align tool. Feel free to, as Tony's mentioned, drop in the chat if you have questions. I'll try to monitor the chat as well. And just come off mute if I'm going too fast, or I've totally lost you, or you have questions, just interrupt me, please. This is meant to be kind of a group activity. So we're going to go up here to Tools, and today we're going to select Align. And you can see here we have 3 different sections of Align. We have Build, Use, and Learn. Today we're focusing on Build. If we have time at the end, I'm going to touch on Use. If not, I might tag that onto our webinar next week. So go ahead and go to Manage Maps. So my list is pretty lengthy, but you might have, if you've been using our CEDS Align tool, several maps, but you should have at least one that says early learning with a number on it. If not, please type your name in the chat and we will set you up with a map. I don't see Manage under Build. Okay. Rob, I'm going to let Dwayne look into your account. You should see Manage Maps, and it might be that you weren't added to a map, so we'll work on that. Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to go to Manage Maps. You should have a map here. Go ahead and click into your map. And then I'm going to do my best to pull my PowerPoint back up without losing you all. But what I want you to look at right now on this page, this is all about the map that you've been assigned to. If you look down here at the bottom, this is your access. And this is everyone. These are people that registered for the webinar. We have assigned everybody to a map. CEDS Webinar 1, that's me. I am on everybody's map. So ignore me here. But we have Chelsea, Jane, Jeff, Matthew, Michelle. You're going to number. Everyone's going to be assigned a number. So Chelsea would be 1, Jane is 2, Jeff is 3, Matthew's 4, Michelle is 5. I'm going to pull my PowerPoint up real quick. So bear with me. So the reason I'm detailing this out for you all is I've assigned you all to a map and we're all going to be working, and there might be 5 of you working in a map. So this was my best way to manage this. So you're going to be assigned. Look, if you look at your access on your map, just count down, excluding CEDS Webinar. Find your name, for example, Jackie Hughes is 3. So that means in a second when you click into your map, you are going to be table 3. So whatever number you're in there matches what table you're in. And I'll pause in case my directions are very confusing. Okay, I'm going to move on. So back inside your map here, we have Early Learning 1. That's the name of our map. This is just information about your map. You can see here that it's not shared. And then if you look here, we have user access. So everyone that's registered for the webinar today, you all are authorized users. And what that means, if you go up to Map Administration, you can go to Manage User Access. And you can change the roles. And down here, you can see where it says, if you're a map administrator, you can do everything. You can archive the map, you can copy the map, you can share the map. You can share means that anyone, you don't have to be logged into CEDS to see it. Authorized users, what you all are, is you can upload a data dictionary. You're going to modify and add elements. We're going to do that today. And you can manage some access and view reports. And then restricted users. So you, if you're doing this in your organization, you can add people to your map. You can add, as you have new employees join your team, they can and be added to the map. And again, you can, if you're the map administrator, you can decide who has what access. So if you've navigated to where I am, go back to Manage Map. And now we're going to get into the data elements. So I'm hoping everyone's following along. We're here at Data Elements. I've already uploaded the data dictionary. Today, we're going to go to Align Elements. So go ahead and click Align Elements. And this is where your number that you're assigned to matters. So for today, we have table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4. You can click this caret and it will expand, open your table. Or you can go up here to the top and just click the table that you're assigned to. So if you were person 1 on your map, you click table 1. So there's 2 different ways you can get to your table there. Okay. I'm going to click on table 1. So if everyone's following along with me, you should see birth date as the first element in your map. Go ahead and click birth date. And hopefully, there we go, it loads. It might be a fault on my end with my internet today. So on the left-hand side, everything you're seeing on the left-hand side is about your map. So this is all the information that you would be loading about your Align map. So you can see here, we have the asterisk for required. There's only one thing required when you're uploading your data dictionary, and that's the element name. You don't have to have a definition. You don't have to enter system name, table name, any of this information, just the element name to get started. Obviously, the more information you have, the better, the more robust it will be. But this information does not all have to be filled in. So for this purpose, I named this early learning webinar. The element we're focusing on is birth date. I made up an element identifier. And here's the important part. We have a definition, the year, month, and date in which a person was born. Again, this is the map that we've uploaded our early learning from our organization. The data type, this is how you would enter it. There's a section here for comments. And you can put anything you want. This is a blank text field, but very often we end up seeing things like this element was last updated in 2020, or this element when it's used is paired with this element. So again, blank text field, you can put whatever's there that's helpful for you in your data system. Under here, you see required, optional, conditional, and NA. The reason we have this is stakeholders asked that we add this piece. And the reason they wanted it is because it indicates if an element is either required, if it's optional, they don't need it. Conditional meaning if they report on this element, they need to report on another element. But it does always default to NA. You don't have to fill this out. But this is here as additional information you can add into your data dictionary. Element reference. A lot of times we see states use this saying this is required for federal reporting. This is part of our state law. It just makes it, it's a great way for you to document it, and it's easily retrievable for others. The data steward, this is where you can put the information on the person you would ask questions about, or ask direct questions to. You can put their name, their email address. Same with internal contact, whatever's helpful for you to put there. You'll notice right here, there's internal review complete. This is a great thing to use just within the CEDS team. If I'm working on doing an Align map for an organization, then someone on my team will go back through and kind of check my work because it is subjective. And this is a great way to keep track of what you're doing. So go ahead, just for today's purposes, you can check internal review just so I can show you what it looks like on the other side. I'm going to pause for a second and make sure I'm not going too fast and that I haven't lost anybody. Okay. Oh, thank you, Tony. The information, he said, the information on this page can be really helpful for new people, especially that data steward, internal contact, element reference piece. Thanks, Tony. Okay, so again, everything here on this side is about your data dictionary, the information you're loading. Here on the right-hand side is about CEDS. So today we're looking to align birth date that's in our early learning data dictionary. We want to align it to CEDS birth date. So at the top, you'll see we have CEDS element. Element could not be located in CEDS. This little box is important because there might be an example later where you are on your own looking for an element and you might go, I really can't find it. If you click this, everything will go away. And there might be times that you're going to align an element and it's not in CEDS. But you can see that this is laid out contextually. We have early learning, K-12, post-secondary, career and technical, adult education, and so forth. That kind of follows your career path or educational career path there. For today, we're going to open up early learning. And inside you see we have a bunch of different entities. Again, contextual organization to child, the child associated with a parent, family, staff. Go ahead, we're going to do birth date to a child. So open up early learning child. And then you'll see a bunch of categories open up. I'll pause here for a second. We want to find birth date. So if you're looking at identity, contact, demographic, referral health, birth date is most likely going to be located under demographic. So go ahead and open that folder. And you might think when we open up demographic, oh, it's done alphabetically, but it's not. Again, contextually, you can see elements, birth date, and how they might relate to anything kind of around it. So birth date, sex, then we have race, and so forth. So we're going to click, don't select the box, go ahead and click birth date. You can click anywhere on the word birth date. And the element details are going to pop up. This is information that's inside of our DES right now. So here you see our CEDS element is birth date. There's our definition. There's the format. We do not have an option set for this element. Related domain entities and categories. This is everywhere inside our DES that you can find birth date. So workforce domain, post-secondary, K-12, early learning. Related topics, this is the use case. So why we added it to CEDS. And then down here, we have our URL. This sounds kind of crazy, but hopefully following this webinar, you might start to have conversations with people about elements, and being able to send them a direct link to an element is really convenient. So each element has its own unique URL. So go ahead and hit close. And we're doing our alignment. So again, here on our side, we have birth date. You're going to select the box birth date. And then this is the alignment that's popped up. Now is when you decide how your definition and the CES definition best align. So I'm going to talk you through this real quick, and then I'm going to hand it over to you all to align a new element. So here we have birth date. This is our definition. Our definition is, I think everyone would agree, the exact same as the CEDS definition. So if you navigate over here, it says, what is the alignment? There are several options here. Dwayne is going to drop a link in the chat. When I first started using the Align tool, I felt very overwhelmed by this. And there's a document on page 6 that Dwayne will drop that kind of explains and gives examples of all these different scenarios of how to align a definition. So in this instance, it's identical in wording. But if you were to select identical intent with wording differences, that would be the definition if it's exactly the same intent, but not worded exactly the same. If we selected identical intent with aggregated or disaggregated, this is maybe the element is divided among multiple elements and the CEDS element is a single element, or vice versa. A common example of this is race. Sometimes data sources just collect race as a single element, and in CEDS, we used to collect race listed as all different separate elements. So each race was a separate element. So that's an example of identical and intent with aggregated or disaggregated, excuse me. Similar in intent with wording differences. Two elements have similar intent, but they're close enough, not quite close enough for identical intent. There's some slight variations. And then lastly, we have related only at a concept level with differences in intent. So an example of that is age. May be aligned to a CEDS element birth date, but however those elements, they're only related on a concept level. They have differences in intention. Okay, so go ahead and select identical in wording because these are identical in wording, and we have no option set. So down here you would select no option set, but it usually it defaults to no option set. And then you're going to hit submit. And if you notice down here, you should have where you've aligned early learning child demographic birth date. It's identical in wording. And you can hit update to make sure it saves. Your update was successful, and go ahead and hit next. And that's going to take you to the next element. And I'm going to pause for a second to see if there's questions, if I've lost anyone. Okay. Any questions? Okay, now I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give you directions, then I'll stop talking for 3 minutes. Our next element is DEI policy indicator. This is actually an element that our early learning work group added or is adding to CEDS without me spoiling your alignment. But here we have the element definition. And now I'm going to turn it over to you all to try to find DEI policy indicator inside CEDS and do your alignment. So you can click through early learning, take some time to explore there. You can search for it. And I'm going to set a timer and put myself on mute. So at this time, go ahead and search for DEI policy indicator to align your element to CEDS. And then we will talk about it. Okay. Does anybody want to type in the chat or quickly come off mute and tell us what element you aligned it to or how any struggles you experienced, questions? For a second. Okay. Well, maybe you decide to click into organization or early learning program to search for this. Or maybe you typed in the word DEI, which I'll do here to show you. And here it shows you there are no records that match your filter criteria. I could type in diversity, and there's no records that match. So for this example, the element cannot be located in CEDS. Thank you, Cindy. Cindy says she couldn't find anything. And Cindy, you were correct. That element has not been added to CEDS yet. So you would select this and go ahead and hit next. And your next element is name. I will give you all like 30 seconds to go ahead and do your alignment here. Click into early learning. For this instance, we kind of have limited information, the person's name. So is it a parent? Is it a child? Is it a staff member? That's information we're missing. But make it your own. You can focus on early learning child if you like, and go ahead and I'll give you, I don't want us to run out of time. I'll give you about 30 seconds to align our element and our data dictionary that just says name to CEDS. Okay. Anyone want to come off mute? Drop in the chat how you aligned name within CEDS. Or even share, maybe you're just searching and you just typed name in the search and went from there. Okay, well, for this example, all we know is name. And if you clicked into early learning child, identity, name, what we don't have in our example data dictionary is what name. Do we need the first name, the middle name, or last name? So for this example, we would need more information. Child's name, parent's name, but we would go ahead and select first name. We could say identical intent with wording differences. Identical intent when aggregated or disaggregated. So this is an instance when we would use this because we're going to need 3 CEDS elements to match one name. We're going to need first name, middle name, and last name. So I've added first name. I'm going to select middle name. Hold on one second, Cindy. Can you go back one step to get the alignment screen? The screen I'm on right now, Cindy, or do you need when we?
Yes.
How do you get to the screen I'm on?
Yeah, and then how did you get to the align screen? So you click the name, first name, middle name.
Yeah. So
right there. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then we have, oops, did I click? Bear with me one second. Then we select last name. And it does default for you. And we'd hit submit. Any questions on that? So here we had to, in order to align to CDS, we grabbed 3 CDS elements. Okay, and we'll move on to the last one. We have 8 minutes left here. And our last one is city. Give you 30 seconds to look at city. Don't forget to look at all your options here. Anybody want to comment on city? How or what you're thinking as you try to align this element? Thanks, Michelle. Michelle said a city for who and what. Yeah. So we don't have enough information here. Is it a city for the organization? As you said, for who or for what? So if we were aligning to this element, we would, let's see, I'm going to type into city just to show you all. Okay, we'll go for address city to an organization. I click this. So for this example, I would click CDS address city, but I'm going to type no element definition available in the stakeholder data dictionary. So I grabbed, I'll do that one more time. I typed city in and I just grabbed one from early learning. Address city, oops. Sorry, I've got to go back a step. Bear with me. I collect the box. And then on this alignment page, we would go down here to the bottom that there's no definition in our stakeholder data dictionary to align, and then hit submit. Okay. If you're still with me here, go ahead and hit close here at the top. And what you should see now is our original table. And we have the dots here now, and I'll open this one. This shows you where if you aligned, it indicates yes, you've aligned it. This was the very first example where I suggested you select internal review complete, just so you can see what it would look like if you were doing this internally and someone went behind you to check. This is just a way to monitor that. So any questions there? Dwayne and Tony, feel free to add anything. If I've missed some things through this demo, interrupt me, please.
Jackie, this is Jen in Minnesota. So a couple of those elements that we were trying to align had incomplete information. And so that is something that we wouldn't necessarily fix in CEDS, but we would go back to our original table of information, or like at what point are you able to like update the thing that is maybe missing?
Great question, Jen. Yeah, so for like city and name, we needed more information, right? And even birth date, whose birth date. So you would, and Dwayne and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would need to go back to your original uploaded spreadsheet, add that information, and re-upload your data dictionary. You wouldn't lose the aligning that if you had already started aligning like we did today, and you went back to add more information, you would re-upload and it would add the elements that you changed to your map. Does that answer your question, Jen?
It does, yeah, thank you.
Vinny, this is your login forever, so feel free to play around. You can make your own maps. Reach out, CEDS@ed.gov, if you want another demo or you want us to share a sample map for you to play around with. Happy to do that. I appreciate you all doing this hands-on activity. I hope it was helpful. I hope something sticks with you. And if you have any questions, reach out. Tony?
Reach out.
Okay, I didn't know if you had anything to say. Thanks, Michelle. And we hope to see you on next Thursday. Let me grab my PowerPoint here real quick. We are going to talk about the Connect tool next Thursday. Determine the questions for your ECIDS, so please join us. Dwayne can drop the registration into the chat. If you're not registered, you can go to our Communities 360s page and register there as well. But again, thank you all for joining us today. And CEDS@ed.gov if you have questions. We are here to help you, and we want to help you with your ECIDS. So please reach out. Thank you all so much, and hope you have a great day.